Welcome back to Warships with Derka, where I'm very happy to see the return of the Tier 7 campaign ship. Anchorage marks the first Tier 7 here since the USS Black, so it's been quite a while now. But I think Tier 8 is populated enough that we could expect some different tiers for campaign rewards. Anchorage is a different twist on American heavy cruisers. She has 12 guns like Buffalo, with a slower reload than Baltimore, a smokescreen consumable, and even torpedoes. Of course, for all of this firepower, the trade-offs seem to be no radar, of course. Way worse maneuverability than Balti, and a lot worse AA. Anchorage to me is a tractor, and I'll happily explain why here shortly. But first, this ship was provided to me by Wargaming for review purposes. I did not purchase it myself. As for my ship setup, I basically built straight into damage output, with Victor Einstein, Lightful, and Belly. I figure I'm going to be spending most of my time farming damage from cover of smoke or islands, and without any radar to contest caps, it seals Anchorage's fate as the ultimate support cruiser, far more so than Baltimore, Wichita, or other American heavies at the tier that can spot destroyers for themselves with radar. Of course, the only problem with Einstein is that he doesn't have fully packed, which would benefit this cruiser a lot, having the third smokescreen, heal, and sonar. If I were a free-to-play guy, I would probably just use Norman Scott and again build into the DPM. Module-wise, I used aiming systems first of all. Einstein, the turret traverse, is manageable. If you use Norm Scott and you don't have Ingenious, you may want to use Main Battery Mod 2 to clean up that 30-second turret traverse time. It's kinda slow. The choice is yours. I usually like aiming systems because to me, these 203mm guns sometimes have wonky accuracy. I feel like the dispersion buff helps it just a little bit. And finally, propulsion mod, because it's a sluggish cruiser and a smoke cruiser, not much of an open water boat. Finally, concealment and the reload module. The game in the background is on Two Brothers, and it turned out to be a really cruiser-heavy game, which I think is pretty fun. Usually lots of cruisers means the gameplay isn't stale, where it can be if you have tons of battleship players slugging it away at each other's bows. Lots of cruisers means players are moving around the map, trying to take objectives, and it's fun. And as a bonus, it was a domination game, which again is much more fun than Capture the Base mode, in my opinion. In my time playing the Anchorage, I suppose I haven't really played it much more differently than I would the Baltimore. I've always been trying to get close to objectives. The stealthy nature of these cruisers helps there, and having smoke allows you to set up safely where other cruisers might not be able to do so. As always, enemy destroyers are the target. In this match, it wasn't really a problem over here on D side. There wasn't an enemy DD, and I didn't have a friendly destroyer to support on my side. So we're going to set up with a nice little crossfire with our Azraelian Shapayev out to the flank. Anchorage is decently tanky as a heavy cruiser. Like Baltimore, it sits right there with Rochester and Plymouth in terms of health. The armor is the same old 27mm scheme we're pretty used to. You can tank 381mm guns, of course. This is a reliable armor threshold for a Tier 7 cruiser. The AP is, of course, really good, and with 12 shells, the broadside is quite a bit more powerful than Balti. In most of this review, I'm going to try to compare this to the Baltimore because that is the free ship you could get that is similar. Of course, it means you're going to have to angle this ship in a way to try to get all of those guns on target, whereas Baltimore, with 2 turrets in the front, 66% of your firepower is right there, and you can really just play bow in. The thing about Anchorage, though, her reload is 14.5 seconds. It's 2.5 seconds longer than the Baltimore. Thankfully, the firing angles are pretty decent, so you can try and protect yourself when farming away. And farming away is exactly how I would describe the gameplay of Anchorage, hence calling her a tractor earlier. It's a farming cruiser, and she's dirt simple to use. Park in smoke or behind cover, and start lobbing shells. HE for angled ships, AP for broadsides. It's a really easy cruiser to play. But the caveat, unlike Wichita, Balti, Azur Lane Balti, Salem, Tulsa, Des Moines, Celtic, you're completely reliant on your teammates for spotting, since you're probably in smoke or behind cover, and again, you don't have your own radar. Playing bow in, around cover, and peeking and spotting for yourself can work, but remember that 14.5 second reload. If you're only using 2 of your turrets, you're really going to suffer in the damage output department. The reload is kind of tragic, in my opinion. Let's compare it to Mogami, a Tier 7 IJN cruiser with a similar gun setup. She has 203s, 10 of them, so just a couple less, and Mogami is absolutely a farming cruiser. And while it has a similar reload in DPM, the fire chance is much better, so Mogami is going to fare a lot better when farming. Now don't get me wrong, Anchorage can put up some good damage numbers, but when I compare her to true farming cruisers, it seems to fall behind. Heavy cruisers that are good at farming, like Albemarle, Charles Martel, and Mogami, are likely going to be able to put up bigger damage numbers with either better reloads or better fire chances, and not to mention comparing it to light cruisers like Cleveland, Suzuya, Mines. In terms of farming cruisers, Anchorage is just going to fall a little bit behind. Now that's not to say you can't put up decent damage numbers, you can, but you just better hope you have a competent team. Speaking of pumping out the damage, this American tractor comes equipped with some pretty remarkable torpedoes. Yeah, pretty unique. They reach 10.5 kilometers and hit like a truck, 19,000 damage apiece. They're also decently fast at 66 knots. The only problem is the firing angles. They're annoying at best. You're going to have to be pretty broadside to use them. In a brawl situation, that's not ideal, so I wouldn't plan to use them as an offensive brawling weapon, like you would the Hipper or the Amalfi. But if you're already parked broadside and you're smoke farming away, you might as well let them loose and zone out places you think the Reds are going to sail. Or if someone is silly enough to rush you, it's nice to have them. Just be careful that someone doesn't blap you as you turn broadside to get your torps off, so, try to bait the shot first. Overall, the torps though, it makes Anchorage very unique in terms of other American heavy cruisers at Tier 7. And since we're on the subject of comparing her to other American cruisers, Anchorage's AA armament is very different from the other Americans. It's quite weak, miles behind ships like Cleveland and Baltimore, and of course the Rochester, the undisputed AA king of Tier 7. I would tell you to just dodge when it comes to enemy CVs, but there's another shortcoming of the Anchorage. The tractor analogy comes back to roost as the ship handles like a John Deere. With an 800-meter turning circle, I believe it's the worst American cruiser at Tier 7 minus the huge Congress. Throw on an above-average 11-second rudder shift time, similar to the Riga, and a pretty slow top speed of 33 knots, and Anchorage falls flat on her face in terms of agility. You may say, why does this matter when I'm sitting in smoke or behind cover and farming? You have a point, but there's inevitably parts of every match where you're going to have to move your ship, reposition, dodge shells, and so on. And when the time comes, this cruiser will definitely disappoint. The last stat, concealment, is just average. Overall, I think this is a unique flavor of American cruiser at Tier 7, and I do like her. I just would never choose the ship if I needed to win a game, or if I was a strictly solo player. As a support ship, she's fun, and in a division, I imagine this is a great boat. I like that it's not blatantly more powerful than her tech tree counterparts, or even other premiums at the tier such as Rochester or Wichita. After all, power creep is the biggest enemy of this game, I think. It's just different and unique, offering a different style of play to players. In my eyes, Tier 7 is the best tier. It's great for farming credits, XP, and being buffered from Legendary tier is an added bonus. 2,500 doubloons, of course, for the campaign is a bargain. It always has been in my eyes, regardless of how mediocre this ship is. If you're looking for a good Tier 7 premium to grind stuff, hey, look no further, 2,500 dubs. Although, you have been warned, I don't see this ship as a solo powerhouse. To get the most out of her, play with a destroyer in your division. Well, that is my take, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave them down below in the comment section. Also, if you liked the video, be sure to smash the like button and sub for more. Catch you in the next one. See ya.